So at this time, I'm in the hospital, and it's just this waiting game and this waiting period from when I got diagnosed to having to have surgery. My cardiologist at our little tiny town hospital, they sent me over to the big city hospital, which is a heart hospital. And he made sure that I got the top surgeon in this field. But that meant there was a kind of lag in terms of when I got diagnosed and when I could have the surgery. So it was about 5 days that I just was hanging at the hospital and living it up there. I was so thankful that he was insistent on making sure I had this top surgeon, and that they transferred me to the good hospital. Like, so many things kind of fell into place that I had no control over, and ended up being just absolutely perfect in what I needed. I did have a stroke during this time. I woke up one day and I didn't have use of my left leg. I had kind of a rash on the back thigh that looked like a lot of burst capillaries, and they couldn't really explain the loss of mobility and function in my left leg. I did have a stroke in my occipital lobe, which would handle the vision and stuff like that. And even the way they told us, the neuro team came in one day and just started talking about, well, and then your stroke and this or that. And me and my husband were like, he's my boyfriend at the time. We were like, what? And she's like, oh, you had a stroke. And you're like, where? When? And it was hard to determine when that would have happened. They just knew when I got admitted I didn't have one, and then a few days, they were constantly, I was going through all different MRIs and this scope and this thing. So I don't know when they caught it or when to have the stroke or whatnot. I do notice that I have a little bit of like a lazy eye. I think it's this eye. So I don't know if it's like a reversed in the camera or whatever, but I think it's this eye that I notice kind of lags occasionally. And right after the surgery or after this stroke, I would see a lot of like blackbirds flying in the sky. It would look like that to me, but it was just these black eye blurries or eye things. I don't know. There's no long-standing issues. I've had a ton of checkups with eye doctors and with the neuro team, and they seem to think everything's checking out on their end. So there's no long-standing issues, and we'll never know why I lost use of the left leg. I'm inclined to think it was a stroke, even though it was in the occipital lobe, but it just was weird. I did regain use of that leg after the surgery. So again, I'm just kind of flabbergasted as why that would have been gone. But anyways, all that to say, it was just several days of waiting, hanging out at the hospital. My kids would come to visit me at times. The nurses were fantastic, and they would get little ice cream or graham crackers for my kids. And it was not an ideal space of time, but I just remember, I just felt like there was such peace. I had such peace over the